What began as a straightforward family outing, a joyful meal to celebrate Julian's 18th birthday, spiraled into an unexpected and tumultuous event. As I stood at the sink, the warm water swirling around my hands, I couldn't help but glance over at my husband, James. He was lost in his work, his brow furrowed in concentration, while I busied myself with the dishes and the sweet aroma of baking pies filled the air. In that moment, I dreamed of a day where laughter echoed through our home, wrapping us in a cocoon of warmth and joy. I often found myself pondering the moment when the veneer of our existence, which appeared to be thriving, began to splinter, much like aged furniture unraveling at its very seams. To the neighbors, we were the picture-perfect family, residing in a charming house with impeccably behaved children who radiated joy and cleanliness. Yet, beneath this facade, I alone was aware of the darkness that had infiltrated our seemingly serene and secure existence. James was perpetually driven, a restless spirit who vanished into the whirlwind of his office life, leaving me to grapple with the encroaching solitude that wrapped around me like a heavy fog. The scorching sun bore down on my skin that day at the beach, amplifying the profound sense of solitude and emptiness that enveloped me. Julian and I were lost in laughter, tossing the ball back and forth, each throw igniting a flood of hilarious memories that danced between us like fireflies in the twilight. In that fleeting moment when my gaze drifted, his hand brushed against my skin as he applied sunscreen to my back, a gentle caress that sent a shiver down my spine. What had initially appeared as a simple, caring gesture soon unraveled into a web of complexity as the hours slipped away. My mind swirled with shattered dreams, and in that moment, I understood that Julian was the sole person who truly saw me, the last beacon in my fading world. His careless yet kind words and actions enveloped me in a warmth I hadn't experienced in years, a warmth that James had stolen from me long ago. In that instant, a chilling clarity washed over me. Julian was stepping into the void my husband had created, filling it in ways I never expected. Thoughts swirled in my mind, each one more intense than the last, as I pondered the implications this could hold for us. Yet, the family gathering I had meticulously orchestrated swiftly transformed into a somber affair. As we nestled into the warm sand, our laughter danced through the air, while the sounds of others reveling faded into a distant hum. A deep sense of distance enveloped me, as if an unseen tide had surged through my soul, erasing every trace of joy that once thrived within. The oppressive stillness compelled me to confront a harsh reality. The flame I had desperately sought had vanished, leaving only an emptiness in its wake. James trudged through the door, weariness clinging to him like a heavy cloak, his spirit dulled and his gaze distant. He offered no greeting, showed no interest in my day, and displayed a chilling indifference toward his own son. The weight of his absence pressed down on me as I sat alone at the kitchen table, the silence echoing around me. It had lost its gentleness, becoming overwhelming instead. I had slipped into the shadows of his existence, a mere whisper in the cacophony of his daily routine, something he could effortlessly overlook. As I faced the vacant desk, shadows of forgotten, grim memories flooded my mind. Anger surged within me as I confronted the reality of my choices, the weight of regret heavy on my shoulders for allowing events to spiral out of control. I found myself lost in the shadows of my past, struggling to recall the woman I once was, the woman who wore her family's pride like a badge of honor. I was a mere echo of my former self, yearning to be noticed, to hold significance, to reclaim that sense of worth that had slipped through my fingers. As I observed Julian, his intense focus on every word that night, it struck me that he was the sole person capable of igniting that familiar rush within me, making my heart race once more. His bright young eyes sparked a flicker of the hope and trust one once held dear. In that fleeting moment, the world shifted irrevocably. A jolt of surprise coursed through me as his fingers brushed softly against my back. When his gaze locked onto mine, it shimmered with a depth of sensitivity that I had never encountered from a man before. Words eluded me, slipping through my fingers like sand. In that instant, the world shifted irrevocably. A whirlwind of emotions surged within, the weight of solitude pressing down, and the desire to abandon the facade grew stronger with each passing moment. Everything emerged from the depths. A silent storm surged within me, unleashing truths I had buried deep for far too long. In that moment, as the impact struck, a deep sense of betrayal washed over me, as if I had turned against my very essence. It felt as though I had collided with my own essence. As I stood on the shore, the crowd swirling around me, a chilling realization washed over me. I had constructed my own prison, and now I had to summon the courage to break free. My emotions were unraveling, ripping me to shreds. Though it lacked the warmth of love, the connection blossoming between us was a weight too heavy to bear. Julian's expression shifted from amusement to bewilderment as our eyes locked, and in that moment, I sensed we were teetering on the brink of something monumental. As I stood on the brink of discovery, I felt the weight of an undeniable truth pressing down on me, one that would linger long after the questions had faded into silence. How could I possibly love someone who was never truly mine? Our loneliness and hope intertwined like distant shores, each existing in its own realm, separated by an unbridgeable expanse. The wall between us seemed on the brink of collapse, and as fear and doubt surged within me, I came to a haunting realization: it wasn't love at all. A heavy melancholy hung in the air, a relentless reminder of time slipping away, laden with losses that clung to me like shadows I could never shake off. The vast, desolate beach stretched endlessly before me, a battleground of conflicting emotions. Love and anger waged war within my heart. James embodied the shadows of my past, a haunting reminder of what once was, while Julian shone brightly, illuminating my path forward. They were never truly mine, so how could I possibly find a way to let go? Summer days once lulled me into a sense of tranquility, but this time, the light seemed to whisper secrets that stirred something deep within me. The sea beckoned to us through the window, its waves shimmering under the radiant sun. Yet, the weight of James's unending absence cast a shadow over my heart, stealing away any flicker of joy that dared to surface. He consistently prioritized his work over us, and each time it pierced my heart like a dagger, leaving a wound that throbbed with pain. I swiftly banished the thought from my mind and departed with Julian, the sole companion still Jamesing, to embrace these fleeting moments by my side. As we journeyed toward the beach, a wave of realization washed over me. Julian was no longer the little boy I once knew. He was growing up right before my eyes. He appeared adrift in his own universe, seated in the passenger seat, headphones enveloping him in sound as his gaze drifted out the window, lost to the world beyond. The realization crashed over me like a relentless tide. He could vanish forever in the blink of an eye. A chilling thrill coursed through me, a paradox of fear and liberation intertwining in my very being. As these memories lingered, I recalled the moments when he was just a child, his tiny hand clasped in mine. His laughter echoed through the room, a vibrant sound that danced in the air. As we arrived, a wave of relief washed over us, as if we had just exhaled a breath we didn't know we were holding. With Julian by my side, we carried the bags to a secluded spot by the shimmering water, a sense of calm washing over me as we settled in. I spread the towels across the sun-kissed sand, watching as he expertly unfolded the umbrella, a nostalgic image of his childhood flickering to life in my mind. As I observed his transformation, an overwhelming urge to reach out surged within me, a desperate need to uncover the turmoil brewing beneath the surface of his soul. I remained silent, my thoughts swirling in the depths of my mind. I sank onto the towel, surrendering to the sun's warm embrace, enveloping me like a well-worn pillow, cradling me in a comforting glow. As I struggled to steady my racing heart, my mind drifted to the scent of suntan oil, a reminder of the sun-soaked days that felt so far away. Julian's eyes flickered with uncertainty the moment I asked for his help. It felt as if he was desperate to escape the clutches of the moment. A wave of tension surged through me as he finally gave his reluctant agreement, my chest tightening with every heartbeat. It took me by surprise when his hands, now far removed from the innocence of childhood, brushed against me. They moved with a gentle touch, each motion deliberate and tender. A wave of confusion washed over me as this seemingly ordinary moment struck with an intensity that sent tremors through my body, unlike anything I had ever experienced before. Julian's hands glided over the oil, each movement deliberate, as if he were lost in a labyrinth of thought, contemplating his next move. His touch resonated like a rhythmic pulse, and I surrendered to the darkness behind my eyelids. A sensation surged through me, one I hadn't experienced in what felt like an eternity. The warmth of his hands transported me back to that unforgettable moment when I cradled him, a fragile infant, in my arms for the very first time. That memory stood in stark contrast to the tumultuous sensations coursing through me now, yet his touch quickly gained confidence, descending lower with an undeniable intensity. A tempest erupted suddenly, sweeping in with a ferocity that left me reeling and unprepared. Desperation clawed at my throat as I opened my mouth to speak, but silence swallowed my words whole. Even as I sought solace in the stillness, a whisper of doubt crept in, urging me to believe it was merely an act of kindness. Yet it felt as though the very fabric of reality shifted with each passing heartbeat. His hands lingered near the edge of the towel, a silent testament to his uncertainty, and I could sense the weight of his indecision hanging in the air. I had the power to intervene, to halt his descent into darkness, yet I leaned in closer, my voice barely a whisper, assuring him that all was well. Those words lingered in the atmosphere, a verdict that felt irrevocable, casting a shadow over everything. In that moment, an unsettling silence enveloped us, thick and heavy, as if the air itself held its breath. I felt myself descending into the depths of my own being, and his touch was the sole lifeline that remained. As his fingers glided lower, resistance slipped away from me like sand through an hourglass. My inner objections vanished, plunging me into a whirlwind of emotions I couldn't begin to articulate. The whirlwind of emotions overwhelmed me, leaving me caught in a tumultuous blend of loneliness and exhilaration. Despite the confusion swirling around me, an undeniable joy began to swell within, igniting a spark of exhilaration that I couldn't ignore. Perhaps it was the weight of a desire I had clung to for what felt like an eternity. As I stood on the desolate beach, my life shattered and void, Julian emerged like a beacon of hope, a rare light that pierced through the darkness I could no longer overlook. A tempest of emotions surged within me, demanding my attention, impossible to overlook. He was more than just a person I cared for. In a shadowy realm, he was the sole spark that ignited my very existence. As our gazes locked, I felt an electric connection, a reflection of every flicker of passion in his eyes mirroring my own. Fate had woven a thread of opportunity before me, one that I could not dare to ignore. In surrendering to the present, I found myself enveloped in the comforting embrace of now, releasing the chains of what was and what might be. A breath escaped my lips, barely a whisper, as uncertainty gripped me, leaving me at a loss for words. Proceed with your journey. Those words resonated with an undeniable power, forged in the heat of the moment. He pressed onward. With every intentional motion of his hands, I experienced a surge of emotions that transcended mere physical sensations. I shut my eyes, surrendering to his touch as it wove a tapestry of enchantment around me. It was a realm I was desperate to cling to. He seemed to be peeling back the layers, delving deep into the very essence of my being, uncovering a profound sense of wonder and an unwavering truthfulness. In that instant, we both understood that this was far more than just a fleeting moment. A novel thread of connection wove through the air, a symphony of emotions that defied definition. In that instant, it struck me that his hands were weaving a spell far beyond mere contact. They surged like wild currents of an unnameable feeling, intertwining happiness, lightness, and a hint of madness. A fierce longing clawed at my insides, threatening to unravel me completely. My lips were sealed in a firm embrace, a silent barrier against the world. In that moment, clarity washed over me as my thoughts faded away, leaving only the rhythmic sound of our breaths intertwining, shattering the stillness that enveloped us. I blinked awake, my gaze locking onto him above me. In that fleeting moment, the world around faded into insignificance. We found ourselves on an endless beach, a secluded paradise where the world faded away, leaving only us and the whisper of the waves. In this moment, the rules and the world faded into insignificance. In that fleeting instant, it seemed as though an entire universe of possibilities unfurled before me. Each heartbeat pulsed with those elusive emotions, often buried beneath the monotony of everyday existence. I yearned to freeze the moment, to hold back the relentless passage of time, ensuring that the barriers separating us would never shift, and that our souls and hearts would remain eternally intertwined. This beach picnic was our hidden sanctuary. In the stillness, every silence held a weight, and words were unnecessary between us. For a fleeting moment, my worries and fears dissolved, replaced by a fragile thread that bound us together. We navigated an uncharted ocean of feelings, like two vessels desperately searching for refuge from a raging tempest. This reveals that emotions can often transcend the limits of language, reaching depths that words alone cannot capture. In the stillness of our shared existence, the boundaries of our roles began to blur, transforming us from mere mother and son into something deeper, something more profound. We were like flowers, stretching toward the light, blissfully unaware that one day it could become blindingly bright. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I became oblivious to the swift passage of time, the fading light casting elongated shadows that danced across the beach. As I inhaled the crisp, invigorating scent of the ocean, a profound stillness enveloped me, drawing me into a tranquil embrace. It was as if a spark had ignited, a momentary escape from the monotonous, threadbare existence that had settled in. But now the moment had come to return home, and with it surged a familiar dread, creeping in like an unshakable chill that clung to my bones. As Julian and I slid into the car, an electric tension filled the air, as if fate itself was poised to unfold before us. As we navigated the streets, my mind drifted into a labyrinth of thoughts, desperately seeking an escape from the relentless anguish that gnawed at the very core of my being. With every turn of the wheels, the delicate fortress I had constructed around myself began to crumble, as if an ominous presence lurked, waiting for our return home. Upon my arrival, I found myself enveloped in the confines of my small world, suffocated by the indifference that James's constant absence had woven around me. He spoke aloud, his voice echoing through the empty rooms, as if he were the sole inhabitant of the house. He appeared trapped in a realm of his own making. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the kitchen as he prepared dinner, yet an unmistakable tension hung in the air, revealing that his mind was elsewhere, lost in a labyrinth of thoughts. Each time he averted his gaze, the fury simmering within me intensified, threatening to erupt at any moment. "James, are you feeling that hunger pang once more?" In an effort to maintain a semblance of normalcy, I posed the question. His smile flickered briefly, a hollow mask that barely concealed the truth beneath. He offered a subtle nod, his gaze fixed on the cabinets, searching for a spark of inspiration to ignite his evening. As I lay in bed that night, my mind was consumed by thoughts of Julian, each memory swirling like shadows in the dim light. His gaze pierced through the shadows, his hands poised with intent, and every ounce of his focus locked onto the moment. The boundaries of what once felt normal began to blur, shrouded in uncertainty. No matter how hard I fought, those thoughts clawed their way back into my mind, relentless and unyielding, haunting me in an endless loop. I felt the urgent need to silence my thoughts, to bring stillness to the chaos within, yet a shadowy part of my soul resisted, craving the tumult instead. It lacked the connection and warmth I once felt from James. As the days slipped away, an unsettling silence enveloped Julian. His unspoken demeanor conveyed more than any words ever could. As I stirred the pot or sank into the couch, his gaze pierced through the air, unwavering and intense, never straying from me. His gaze was unyielding, piercing through the dim light of the room as I sat there, absorbed in the flickering images on the screen. I embraced it. Instead, I surrendered to the moment, forging a silent bond that intertwined our fates. It was an unspoken connection, a profound sensation that lingered in the air between us, palpable yet elusive, resonating in the depths of our souls. The house simmered with an intensity over the weekend, the air thick with an unrelenting warmth that wrapped around every corner. Once more we departed, casting Julian and me into solitude. A powerful urge surged within me, an inexplicable longing to return to the beach, our beach, that I couldn't shake off. Perhaps I was seeking an escape from the oppressive confines of the house, or maybe I clung to the belief that the crisp air could cleanse the turmoil swirling in my mind. The air was thick with tension as we drove, each mile amplifying the unspoken words hanging between us. Julian sat in silence, headphones enveloping him in a cocoon of sound, his gaze fixed on the world beyond the window. A sensation gripped my insides, compelling me to confront the unspoken tension that lingered between us. The morning unfolded in a serene hush, a tranquil stillness enveloping the world. In the heart of the kitchen, I toiled over breakfast, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee entwining with the comforting scent of warm, toasted bread, creating a tantalizing atmosphere that enveloped me. A smile crept across my face as memories flooded in each fleeting glance from James before he dashed out the door, a silent exchange that lingered in the air long after he was gone. The rhythmic pulse of our existence echoed in the way our mornings unfolded, each moment ticking away like the hands of a clock. Today, he approached me with a quiet intensity and pressed his lips gently against my cheek. For a fleeting instant, his presence enveloped me like the gentle caress of early spring sunlight, but all too soon, he slipped away, retreating back to his monotonous, work-driven existence. The sound of his footsteps echoed on the stairs, followed by the sharp bang of the door slamming shut, plunging me into the solitude of the sunlit, tranquil house. As dawn broke, Julian slipped into the kitchen, a silent specter gliding through the soft glow of the early morning light. He stood by the window, an immovable figure, his gaze fixed on the world beyond, captivating in its stillness. His gaze locked onto mine, reminiscent of that moment on the beach when nothing else existed in his world but me. It was evident to us both that this bond had evolved into something far deeper than a mere mother-son connection. The heat was suffocating, and I could sense his breath lingering just behind me. It was a haunting echo of how love and warmth could engulf the very essence of existence. A wave of intensity washed over me, leaving me breathless as I attempted to halt him with a whispered plea. Just as I opened my mouth to speak, he stepped closer, igniting a whirlwind of fear and exhilaration within me. I must escape this place. I began to speak, but he cut me off. As his lips brushed against mine, a whirlwind of emotions surged through me, each one more intense than the last. The moment our lips met, the world around us shattered into chaos. I felt the weight of my conscience pressing down on me. Lost in a whirlwind of love and anxiety, I became blind to the boundaries of right and wrong. I was acutely aware that it had the power to obliterate everything in its path. With every kiss, a spark ignited within me, a sensation I had long thought lost to the shadows of time. I shattered every boundary and plunged into the abyss of the unknown during those fleeting moments. The day dragged on, yet I was caught in the eye of a tempest. Julian and I ventured beyond a boundary that was never intended to be breached. I realized then that this was no fleeting error, but a burdensome weight that would only grow more oppressive with each passing moment. I felt the weight of my own world closing in, the shame suffocating me, leaving no escape in sight. His gaze held me captive, each subtle gesture of affection igniting a fire within me, stirring a potent mix of longing and desire that I couldn't escape. Yet an unsettling sense of danger lingered, as if we were teetering on the brink of a vast, dark chasm, ready to plunge into the unknown. In that moment, a profound truth washed over me, revealing that something significant had shifted within me. We found ourselves entangled in a web of defiance, a secret that pulsed with significance despite the unyielding boundaries it crossed. As his hands made contact with my skin, a surge of emotion shattered the walls I had built around my heart, unleashing the feelings I had long suppressed. I found myself questioning my actions, a gnawing doubt creeping in as I pondered whether I had crossed an unseen line, leaving me in a state of unease.